Marriage. Everyone tells you it's hard work, but no one tells you exactly why. Today, we're talking about the truth behind the vows, the parts no one posts on Instagram, the fights, the quiet moments, the ways we grow, and sometimes grow apart. My guest today knows this firsthand, and she's here to share her story unedited. Today's guest knows a thing or two about the real side of marriage. Marielis is a mom to 3 spunky little girls who keep her on her toes, and she's been homeschooling them while navigating all of the ups and downs of family life. And today, she's here to share her truth. Maji, I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome, and thank you so much for accepting this invitation.
I'm so happy to be here speaking to you today.
Yes.
This is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun one.
It is. It's going to be so much fun. And I know I introduced you and I said Marielis because that's your name and it's gorgeous. But I know you as Maji, and we've known each other for a lot of years.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say Maji throughout the episode if that's okay.
That just seems more natural. Like even in school, even the teachers would just call me Maji, so it feels like home.
I love that. Yay. So before we get started, because there's a whole lot of questions I want to get into today, but I just want to ask about your upbringing, Maji. If there's anything you can share with us, what do you remember about life at home?
That's a really good question, especially since we're going to be talking about marriage, because when you're married, your upbringing is very important. Mm-hmm. And me and my husband, although our upbringing were different, we both kind of struggled with like stability in our home. So like he was kind of adopted by his grandma, and I lived at home with like a single mom. My grandma would help out a lot, but that was pretty much my childhood,
and I asked that question because some people would say, depending on how you grew up, that's how your marriage may turn out, right? So we've had the conversation with some people who say, I would really love to marry someone in the future who came from a 2-parent household, right? But that looks different for everyone, right? You might have come from a 2-parent household and may not have all your stuff together. Or maybe you were raised by a single mom and you're so successful in marriage. So I think it was important to just start this conversation off in this manner, like, paint us the picture of what it was like for you and your husband, or for you growing up.
Yeah, for me growing up, I had like, my mom was very loving, but like no one really gives you all the right tools as to like how to raise children. And she basically, after she separated from my dad, she came over here to the United States, and she ended up working like automatically as soon as we got here. She took out like her CNA. So she would work sometimes from 7 a.m. all the way to 11 o'clock at night. And me, my brother and sister were practically raised by my grandmother. And after that, like, we started to see my mom, just like anyone else, everyone wants to feel loved by someone, So, of course, my mom moved on from my dad. I've had, like, a couple of different stepfathers at the time growing up. And I think that played a huge role in the decisions that I made in my marriage. Just like how you brought up, like, depending on what you see growing up or depending what type of family you come from, it kind of plays a huge role in the person you become when you're older.
Absolutely.
And it did. And I think the same for my husband, which is why we kind of both fight really hard for our marriage. Because we both came from a background where we didn't have that at home. And so we protect it. We protect it a lot. That's
so good, Maji. So how did you and your husband meet?
Oh, boy. We met as kids, actually. We met because of someone we knew. And I never really crushed on someone the way that I did with him. And that's so embarrassing to say. But when I saw him, I'm like, oh, my God. He's so, like, at the time, I was like 12. And I'm like, he's so cute. But I was really shy at that. I wasn't always this talkative. I was really shy girl when I was little. But there's always that one friend you have that's very open, very vocal, and she kind of like pushed and she spoke for me, and I ended up meeting him, and it was, like little kids love. Then afterward, we grew up, and that same friend that pushed me to meet him when I was 12, she ended up asking him for help on something, and that's when we kind of reconnected. And he came to help her, and he ended up walking me home that day, and we've been together ever since.
Girl, thank goodness for that friend. As you're speaking,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, she played matchmaker, and you're married now,
She was always like that girl for me that was like, she was like my voice. At the time when I felt like I didn't have a voice, she was always there to like kind of be that for me. And of course, like when I told her like he's so cute, she's like, and he was really shy as well. Like my husband's very shy at the time. He's more open now. He's still a little bit timid, but she was like, oh my gosh, she likes you. Do you like her? Like, like little kid stuff. And he's like shaking his head, yes. And then when we were older, when we met again, I was like, okay, so, I was still quiet. And then I was like, I'm going to walk home. And he's like, oh, you're walking home? And then he ends up walking me home. And then we just haven't been separated since.
I just like, how many women can say I married my elementary school crush? Like, even if you guys didn't go to elementary school together, but you were 12, right?
Yes.
So it's like, wow, like that's incredible. I can't wait to learn more. So how old were you when you got married?
I was 18.
Girl.
It's so young.
So you got married at 18, Maji, which a lot of young boys and girls, right? Because you're kind of still a boy and a girl at 18, right? Some kids think I turn 18, I'm moving out of my parents' house.
I was having this conversation with my husband, and I'm like, we really thought we knew it all when we were 18. Like at that time, I felt like I reached full maturity, and I thought I knew more than my mom. I thought I knew more than the people older than me. I knew what I wanted. I knew that like I wanted to get married, and I knew what I was doing. Like nothing could surprise me at the time. And I was just so wrong about that.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like most 18-year-olds don't even know how to do their laundry. Like if you're still living at home with your parents, a lot of parents are guilty of like, I still do my kids' laundry, and at that age you were, you're getting married, you're doing all the things. So you don't hear that often, but you did that. So looking back, were there ever early signs that your relationship would be different from what you imagined? Because I know that as a little girl, we think about marriage and we think about like, this is what I'm looking forward to. And I think that the Disney movies are a little bit responsible for making us think that it's all butterflies and rainbows.
They really make you delusional. Yeah. I admit that. I was really naive when I was younger. I mean, I guess not naive, but I had an illusion that marriage was going to play out a certain way. Like the prince caters so perfectly to the princess, and I didn't realize that he was also having his own struggles. And sometimes we ask a lot from the person that we're with, and we tend to not realize that it isn't realistic to have those expectations, and it's a lot to burden someone with. I don't know if you understand, but when I was younger and we had first gotten married, that kind of is what I had imagined, like a fairy tale marriage where after we got married, it was just happily ever after. Like everything else was supposed to be good. But yeah, I was wrong.
But in reality, you're joining a partnership where it's two completely different people joining their lives.
And I mean, I can't really say that it was just the fairy tale that had a role in it. I guess because of both of our childhood, if I'm being honest, we didn't have a lot of people close to us who were married. So a little bit after we got married, we had our first daughter. And I guess what I had imagined, and it might sound crazy, but what I actually had imagined is that after you have your kid, that's technically when things get so difficult that the guy ends up leaving. So I didn't know at the time how sure my husband was of me. And when we had first had our daughter, I had kind of given up because I thought that was just it. You go through postpartum, you just have a kid. And at the time, my first daughter, like wasn't easy because she had a lot of medical things that were happening, so we didn't sleep much. My husband was working a lot and I was just a kid, you know? So I go from this girl who thought she was a full adult, who thought she knew everything, and then all of a sudden reality kicked in. And then I'm like, oh, okay, so this is why people leave each other. This is why it's just easier for me to, instead of work to be better, it's easier for, instead of dealing with the conflict, this is why people just don't deal with it. They end up just separating instead of trying to work towards something. But my husband was like not budging. And I'm happy that he really fought for our marriage.
He fought to stay in it.
Oh yeah, he fought for his kid. He fought for me. He fought for the whole thing.
And is that, Maji, because you guys started to have issues just because it's new life, you have a baby, things are getting tough, right? So it was never like outside of the marriage issues. It was just what you were going through in your home.
Yeah, like I was young, I just had my first kid, and it was hard because I felt so alone. And that feeling of being alone, like how do I explain it? Like you have your kid, but you're experiencing that. Although he's experiencing something different, it doesn't compare to, like, he had to work, and that alone was a lot for just a kid himself. Now he has the full responsibility of providing for a family.
Is he your same age?
He's 19. He was 19 at the time. I was, because, well, we're like a year in some part. So at times we're like 1 year apart, and then there's like times where he's like,
because I'm trying to wrap my head around, is he a few years older? And sometimes, that can make a difference. But no, you guys are the same age.
We're
getting started at this thing called marriage, right? And you're figuring it out together. Yeah.
So I guess that's what I thought, what I had. I've only seen one healthy marriage growing up, which is my uncle and aunt that are very close to me. And other than that, everyone around me just kind of like after you had a kid, and it typically happens after you have a kid, right? Like, that's what I would see. It's like, you have a child, it becomes difficult, and then they get scared, and then they run off. But when my husband stayed and continued to just try, it was different. I'm like shocked. I'm like, what is this? Yeah. So then I'm just learning something new.
Because like they say, it takes two, right? So it would have been so much like easier, like you said, if you would have been like, I can't do this. This is hard. Like you're off working to provide for a family. This is brand new for you. I'm here taking care of the baby. I feel so alone. It's easier to just be by myself. If he would have been like, okay, girl, peace, you would have been a single mom, and you wouldn't be where you are today. So when they say it takes two, it really does. He was able to, put things into perspective and say, no, I'm in this. Like I'm in it for the long haul. Like you're not alone, Yeah. And knowing you guys, Maji, like I've known you for so many years, and I know I'm a little bit older than you guys are, but my goodness, do I admire you guys, and you know that.
We have been in each other's lives for like the good, the bad, and it's just been a beautiful journey. I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah. I love that. What have been the biggest surprises about marriage that you maybe didn't expect?
I guess the biggest surprise was how much work I would have to do. Like, I don't know, we tend to be very selfish sometimes. And when you're married, you kind of get a mirror held up at you. Like, you got me, like, sometimes when there's conflict, it's always quick, like, you need to do this in order for this to work out. But then when that person's holding you accountable, it's like you're very blinded to things that you don't even know are in you, things that you don't even know are an issue. And it's not until you have to confront that and you have someone who loves you, but they're also like, hey, this is happening, and you're kind of held accountable. So that kind of took me by surprise how much... How do I explain it?
I love that. I mean...
But like how much growth within myself I've had to do. Wow. Like, I thought like I always hear a lot of people going like, this is who I am and you can take it or leave it.
Yep.
And it's not until you're actually in a marriage that you're like, whoa, you know, that's not gonna work all the time.
Because it's about compromise, right? So you're expecting certain things out of your partner, but yet again, they're expecting certain things out of you.
So to answer your question, I guess that's what caught me by surprise is like we got married and we said our vows for better or worse. And I didn't know how much work it was going to be. Mm-hmm. You get me? How much change you would go through. Like, it's not just, you know, this is who I am and this is who you married. So take it, buddy. It was kind of like a partnership. And you're working towards something together. So you both are going to have to do some work to make it work.
Do you feel like you ever had a honeymoon phase?
Definitely.
Okay, was that before you got married or after?
It was before, and I guess it kind of like after we had kids, it was kind of like, man, having kids really does it sometimes. But it was before we had kids. We were like always, you remember, like we were best friends. We were always together, and then now we have this task, and sometimes it's really. Like, especially when you're sleep deprived, when you have a lot, it's easy to turn into enemies. Yeah. Because now you're like, but I'm doing this more, and you're doing that. Like, he's like, but I'm doing this, and this is making me tired. And it's really easy to turn into enemies after having a kid. So it's always something you have to be very careful with. But I guess that's when the honeymoon phase kind of like.
So that's when you felt the shift.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's so common, Maji, right? Like at first it's just you and this other person. We're gonna go to sleep when we want, wake up when we need to, maybe take a weekend trip out of the blue, right? But that doesn't happen when you have little humans in the mix.
Like for example, it doesn't bother you when they're away, when you don't have a kid, or like when they're doing their own thing. It's like it's fine, but when you have a kid, you're like, I have all this, and you start to like kind of be more needing of them. And it's just like, I'm tired, can you please? And then he's like, oh, you know, but I'm tired. And it's just like, you don't get to be, I think things would be much different if kids weren't in the picture, because you wouldn't be as needing of them. Girl. It's hard to like.
No, I think that for every woman listening right now, Maji, you just made us all feel so seen. Because I think that myself included, when I've had 3 children already, but with each of them, it's that same feeling of, if I don't have a kid and you're away, I'm not going to miss you as much. So I've never heard it in that way. So thank you, because I know it resonated with our audience and with me, any of us that are moms, because it's so true. Like, if I don't have a kid here and you're away, cool, see you at 8. Yeah. But I'm here by myself, working my butt off. The kid is crying, they're hungry, they're cranky, and I'm doing it alone. And I feel like you should be here too. So thank you for saying that, because that helps us know that we're not alone and that we all feel that way. And not that it's a wrong thing. I mean, dad has to go work. I mean, moms work too, right?
A lot of the times people, and I've been very fortunate with my husband, because I'm telling you, he's so different. And I've seen women struggle with this, and it's very important who we surround ourselves with, because when I did have a kid, you know, like my cousin would joke around with him like, oh, don't think you're going to have him at home all the time now. We're going to be going out, or we're going to be doing this. And even like close family members would be like, have a certain image of the way a man should play a role at home. And it wasn't the same as the woman. It's like the woman stays at home with the kid, and the man just gets to continue to be himself. While we shift our whole life, we're now adapting to being someone's caregiver, and the man just gets to continue as if nothing has ever changed. So in the beginning, it was very tough, because I would see my husband battling with wanting to not, I guess, they had an image of how he should present himself after a kid. And he should still be himself. But he knew that, like, even though this is what society was saying, or like family and friends were saying, he knew that he needed to be a parent just as equally as I needed to be a parent. And that's why I say I'm very fortunate, because sometimes a lot of men get caught up in being men, or in what men should look like, and they shouldn't cater to their families the way that my husband has. And I think a lot of the issues that we had in marriage and early on was his battle with that.
As you're mentioning that, I'm thinking, okay, he ended up doing it, but I'm sure it was work. Because I think naturally,
everything is work,
right? Like naturally for the man, I go out and I work. Maybe I go do an extracurricular activity. I come back home. My wife's been here all day dealing with the kids. Like that's the natural thing for them to do. And it's the natural thing for us to do, right? But it must have been a lot of work for your husband to make that switch to say, maybe my wife needs me a little more.
I ended up watching, and it was on Netflix, and I don't even remember it, but I remember I was watching a show that they had put out, and they talked about how important it was for men, because for us women, we have our child and it's an instant connection, but men have to actually work differently towards that connection. They have to spend time with the baby. They have to, in order for that to turn on in their brain. So I could only imagine the dads that don't do that work. And that's why it's so easy for them to go out for hours and not have that desire to be like, is my kid okay? I need to be home with them. And I've seen that in my marriage. Like the more that my husband was more hands-on, the more natural it came to him. The more his parent like instincts would kick in. And it's just like, it just made sense. You know how there's sometimes people say things like, oh, statistics show this, but sometimes it's just like, wait, that, like you live. So it's like, wait, those statistics don't make sense. But that made sense to me because I lived it. Exactly. And I've seen it. And it's just like, you know, that thing, like you live, like street smart, like, you know, like, how do I explain that? It's just like, you've seen that the way they wanted him to deal with it, you've seen where that road has taken other fathers. So you kind of, when I heard that on the show, I'm like, this makes sense. This makes perfect sense. Like if you separate a child from their father, you're separating that connection that they're supposed to grow together.
I love that. A person who's planning to have children and are excited, thinking, right, they have that timeline. I'm going to get married. We're going to buy the house. We're going to have kids. You've had 3 beautiful little girls, right? So you mentioned a little bit what it was like when that first baby came into your life, but then you had baby number 2 and baby number 3. So if you wanted to just, we are wrapping up here, but if you wanted to talk a little bit about how it was adding a second and a third, and what advice you would have for a woman who's planning to possibly jump into having children right away, should they wait?
I guess I could share, if you're okay with, I could share a little bit of a story before we close off, so that way you can, so I could jump into the advice that I would have for everyone. There was a time where we did have a conflict, and at the time I was being very, like, I didn't notice I was, but I was angry that he wasn't communicating with me what I needed, and we had just had, I believe, like our second daughter, and things were tough, and I remember being so upset, and I wanted him to comfort me a certain way, and it was mostly like how I wanted him to approach me. And I was thinking about how I felt, and I had to go to the room and actually pray about it, because I'm like, I don't know how long I could do this for. He isn't giving me what I need. And at no time did I ever stop to think about what he was going through. He had been working, we had kids, and it was already a lot to navigate all on its own. And I remember that day, after praying, he had gotten home from work, and it had been like, you know, when you have a conflict, but sometimes it just doesn't get resolved right there and then, so it starts to build up and build up, and then you get this separation. But I felt something tell me, like, ask him how he's feeling. Right? Like, ask him how he's feeling. How is he doing? And I remember going to him, and although we were upset with each other, I spoke to him. And it's just like, it's so hard to get men to open up about how they're feeling inside. And we can be so blinded to what they're going through. And I remember that was the first time he ever told me that he was struggling. He was struggling with his emotion of not being a good provider. And that when we would get angry and I would tell him like, oh, you know, when you do this, it makes me feel like this, or when you do that, it makes me feel like this. And he said that he was struggling because he felt like he wasn't a good husband. And he didn't know how to be a good husband to me because he felt like he was letting me down. So me expressing to him that I needed more was making him feel like he wasn't being the husband that he needed to be. And then on top of that, like with all the bills and everything that was going on, he just felt like all around he wasn't good enough. So he was getting put into this deep depression, and I didn't even know it. Now, if you love someone, and sometimes the little petty arguments, if you don't resolve them, it can lead to that. But if you love someone, you never want to hear that they feel so low of themselves to the point where they don't feel that great to live anymore because they aren't. So that I'm like, I didn't know he was feeling this way. And that helped me to learn to approach conversations differently with him. My advice to others would be that are married is that it's a partnership. And there's going to be times where things are going to get tough, but it's about you and your partner navigating together to get through those tough times. And to be very careful with fighting each other instead of the problem.
That's good. That's good, because I think a lot of times especially in marriage, but in a lot of relationships, right, whether it's friendship or family member, you can get to that point where you're against each other, but it's like, why don't we talk about the problem? So I love that you just mentioned that. I want to do a little quick like rapid fire round, just a few questions, and then you just say like the first thing that comes to mind. Okay. First word that comes to mind when I say marriage.
Love
it. Most ridiculous fight you've ever had with your husband?
Trims.
What was that?
The trims, like the trims for the
lawn?
No, like am I saying this right? The trims.
Oh, the trimming, like along the floor. Yeah,
that's when I knew I was pregnant.
That was the silliest fight.
I cried so much.
Oh my goodness.
He said he wanted to paint it like gray or something, and I cried in the shower for hours. I cried so much, and he comes up to me. He's like, "Do you need a pregnancy test?" And I was like, "No." And I was like, "Maybe." Like
he knows
cried.
you.
Yeah,
he knows his wife.
That was the craziest thing. I'm like, how can you paint it gray? Like, are you crazy?
And you were indeed pregnant.
Yeah.
I love this. This is great. If your love life was a movie, oh, I love this one. Sorry. If your love life was a movie, what would the title be?
Girl,
I forgot I had this question here. I love it. Oh.
What would the title be?
Yeah, there's a movie about Jesus and Maggie. This is your love story. What's the title? What are we naming this thing?
It would be a thriller movie.
A thriller for sure.
Yes.
Love it. One of your biggest pet peeves as a wife or a mom?
He spoils these girls. It's hard to compete with him sometimes. He spoils them.
That's great. And last and final question. What's one thing that you would love to have in your dream home?
A nice backyard. A nice like area to host the family, to host a friend, because we love to host, but we want to be able to like enjoy, like, you know, have the pool, have everything set up so like it's very like we don't really need to vacation. Like I want that to be like our spot.
Love that. Is there any truth that you've never said out loud until now?
I guess the truth that I would share is that not everyone that gets married young is gonna fail.
Love it. Love that, because a lot of people might have this preconceived notion of, you got married so young, girl, like that's not going anywhere. Love that truth, Maggie. It has been such an honor having you on the show today. A dream come true. I love you so much. Your story is so inspiring. Like I've mentioned time and time again, I am inspired by like all the growth that you've done since I met you at 17, because actually your 18th birthday, we celebrated it at my house with our women's small group from church.
Yeah, it's insane, and it's insane how fast time passes.
Yeah. So I'm honored to know you. I take a lot from you, believe it or not. Don't think because I'm a 36-year-old woman, I don't learn from you because you're a little younger. You're an incredible mom to 3 beautiful little girls who I love. And I thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. And I can't wait for women and men alike to listen to this episode and be inspired by you.
And I think it's really important that people have a good relationship with other people who is going to be able to lift you up. And I'm happy that I have that with you. So I'm also very grateful for our friendship.
Same. Love you, girl.
Love you too.
Yay, girl, we did that.
We did. We sure did.
Marriage will test you, stretch you, and teach you sometimes all in the same day. But it's in those raw, unfiltered moments that you find out who you really are and what love truly means. To anyone listening who's in the middle of their own marriage story, whether it's still being written, rewritten, or coming to an end, I see you. You are not alone. You're not alone in the hard parts, and there's still room for growth, healing, and love.
I feel like I could breathe again.
Ready to share what you've never said out loud? Visit truthwithoutedits.com and head to the Submit Your Truth tab to send your story. You can even submit anonymously. While you're there, feel free to check out our merch, stream the latest episodes, and join a community that's finally saying it all. Don't forget to subscribe and follow the show so you can stay in the know and be the first to hear when new episodes drop. Until next time, truth tellers, keep showing up loud and unedited.